Hello everyone, this is Goosebumps Godzilla, and today I'm going to be talking about the second Goosebumps book in Goosebumps Horrorland, The Creep from the Deep. Mostly about the main antagonist of the story, Captain One Bin Longleg. I believe that's how you pronounce his name. But yeah, that's basically what I'm going to be talking about in this video. But I'm actually going to be going over a lot of different Goosebumps books and stuff like that, because this theory is a lot bigger than just kind of going over and theorizing about the death of Captain One Bin Longleg. Actually, this is probably going to be one of my biggest theories ever, actually. I'm going to be basically trying to figure out the origin not only of Captain One Bin Longleg, but also Dark Falls, along with Ghost Camp, The Carnival of Horrors, a bunch of different Goosebumps books. So without any further ado, guys, let's get into this theory. Starting out with a quick spoiler warning, we're going to be spoiling a lot of Goosebumps books. I'm going to keep this to a minimum because, honestly, I don't even know if that many people would be able to watch it if I did heavy spoilers for all the books that I'm doing. So I'm going to be going over spoilers as light as possible just because there's so many books I'm going to be covering. But I'm mainly going to be talking about the origins of the antagonist in a bunch of these books. For example, Creep from the Deep. I'm not really going to go over the main plot, but I am going to be going over some details about the main antagonist of the book and the sort of subject of this video, Captain One Bin Longleg. Another Goosebumps book I will be spoiling is Welcome to Dead House. Again, I'm not going to put in that many spoilers, as light as possible at least, just because, again, we're spoiling so many different Goosebumps books. But same thing with Welcome to Dead House. I'm mainly going to be talking about the villain's origin story and stuff like that. The book itself is kind of a mystery, so if you haven't read Welcome to Dead House, I would recommend reading that before this video. Not as much for Creep from the Deep, since it's not really a mystery, so most of the plot of the book I'm not even going to be talking about. So, the other book that I'm going to be talking about is Ghost Camp. And this is similar boat as Welcome to Dead House, where the book's a mystery, so if you haven't read it, I will be spoiling some of the aspects of the story, but you pretty much know certain things coming into the book, like something supernatural is going to happen. But yeah, I am going to be talking about Ghost Camp and Return to Ghost Camp. Again, light details as possible, but I still want to get my points across, so I will be spoiling some of these books. Same thing for Return to Ghost Camp. I'm going to be talking about the main villain of that story and stuff like that. Another Goosebumps book I will be talking about is Return of the Mummy. Again, I'm going to try to keep this as light of spoilers as possible. Also, I will very lightly, spoil some aspects of 5th grade zombies. And yeah, also, same thing with that one. I'm going to be talking about the villain's origin story and stuff like that. And that book's kind of a mystery. But again, since that one's not really a huge part of my theory, it's going to be very quick, very brief. Basically, there's zombies in there, as you could tell from the title. That's basically what I'm going to be saying, but I'm going to be talking about the origin of these zombies. And last but not least, we have two Give Yourself Goosebumps books that I'm going to be spoiling, and that is Escape from the Carnival of Horrors and Return to the Carnival of Horrors. Can't really spoil that much at Give Yourself Goosebumps books since there's so many different paths, but I'm going to be talking about essentially all that we know about the lore of the Carnival of Horrors. But anyways, guys, without further ado, let's get into our theory. So essentially, Captain Long Bin One Leg was a pirate during the golden age of piracy, who was supposedly incredibly evil. He would obviously do what a pirate does, which is attack and steal and loot and all that stuff, which is not great at all, but he was worse than your average pirate, because he would actually do some very cruel things, like put his men in a den of rats and let the rats eat them. I mean, he just did that for entertainment as well. So it was just he was just kind of a horrible person. And anyways, he went out sailing one day aboard his ship, the Scarlet Skull, when suddenly a mysterious mist or cloud descended over the Scarlet Skull and basically made Captain One Bin Longleg and his crew disappear. According to the legend that you can see in the Goosebumps Monster Survival Guide or in The Creep from the Deep, you can see that, they say that he disappeared because he was just so evil. Anyways, one thing leads to another in The Creep from the Deep. It is later revealed that through this mist, Captain Longbin One Leg and his crew are stuck in this other dimension-ish kind of thing. It's very, very similar to the real world, but through becoming in this fog, they got stuck in this other dimension and essentially became zombies, essentially like that. They were zombie-like people, which is just kind of odd and mysterious. And with that whole mist and stuff like that. So I started out with this theory, trying to figure out what exactly caused the death of Captain Longbin One Leg. What is this mysterious mist? I highly doubt just because he was so evil, this magical mist came out of nowhere and stuck him in another undead dimension and turned him and his crew into undead beings. I highly, highly doubt that. I mean, there's so many other Goosebumps monsters I would say are more evil than Captain One Bin Longleg and more threatening, like Slappy, for example. So I highly doubt it was just because, he's so evil, he got sucked into a dark mist and, became undead. So I started kind of doing research for this theory. When I eventually found something else that linked this book very closely with a bunch of different Goosebumps books, and that is that dark mist. So I talked about that mist earlier, and it turns out there's a bunch of different Goosebumps books that feature a similar origin story to Captain One Bin Longleg. One of these is Welcome to Dead House. In this book, supposed innocent town, basically, Dark Falls, fell victim to a mysterious gas that they attributed to a plastic factory failure. But I highly doubt that, considering it turned everyone to undead beings. And I highly doubt a plastic factory accident could do that, or the government authorities would know. I mean, I just highly doubt the probability that a plastic accident caused something like this. But anyways, this mysterious mist, supposedly attributed to a plastic worker accident, drifted into Dark Falls and turned everyone in that town into undead zombies who seemingly are unable to leave and have to feast on human blood once every year. Again, I highly doubt it's a, like a plastic plant accident. I really highly doubt that. Again, the government would know about it. A lot of people would know about this, accidental plastic, thing and figure out that most likely these guys are all undead zombies because of the fact that it's a town. It really just doesn't make sense. Okay, so I think something else, something more supernatural is at play at this. Especially looking at the cover art for the Dark Falls sequel that was never released, Happy Holidays from Dead House, in which you see a house that has eyes and a mouth-ish kind of thing going on, meaning that the house and the area itself is kind of alive-ish and evil and stuff like that. So you kind of see what I mean. There's something supernatural going on here. It's not just a plastic chemical accident. Anyways, I kind of got ahead of myself there. Or not really ahead of myself. I kind of went off to this other wormhole. But another Goosebumps book, very similar to Welcome to Dead House, is Ghost Camp. And it features, again, a similar story to Long Bin One Leg, where there's this mist that descends on a bunch of people and turns them into zombie-like beings. In Ghost Camp, there is this innocent camp, but one day this mysterious fog drifts on this innocent camp and turns everyone there into undead beings who are honestly very similar to the Dark Falls residents. There's differences here and there, but they fit the general gist of the trends that you see both in Captain One Bin Longleg and in Dark Falls. So that is a huge thing. And not only that, but there's other Goosebumps books that match this too. If you look at 5th grade zombies, well, there's not that much evidence, and I wouldn't say it's a stretch, this theory that I have, but it's kind of a stretch. According to the legend of how the zombies got there in 5th grade zombies, a bunch of children got off a school bus, went to a cornfield, where they mysteriously turned into zombies. And so, while that's kind of the plot of the book, you can see that these zombies, in the book at least, are kind of similar to the Dark Falls residents in a lot of ways. But the most important aspect that kind of ties it to all these other Goosebumps books is in the cover art, there's also a form of mist. In Creep from the Deep, in Welcome to Dead House, and Ghost Camp, and that also includes Return to Ghost Camp, along with possibly 5th grade zombies, all 5 books feature a form of mist that turns people into undead beings, which is kind of interesting. So I did a bit more research, and I figured out other Goosebumps books were kind of tied to this as well, including Escape from the Carnival of Horrors, or just the Carnival of Horrors itself. So, in case you don't know, the Carnival of Horrors is essentially this carnival that tries to lure people inside, and then people cannot escape. And if people don't escape from this carnival before 24 hours, they're stuck there forever as an undead being. And so this apparently has been going on for decades, centuries actually, because there's a Puritan girl in there was a cowboy in there. So basically the owner of this carnival, Big Al, likes to trap people in his carnival and turn them into undead beings. And the plots of the first, or of the 2 Carnival of Horror books is for you to escape. So the interesting thing about the Carnival of Horrors is not only does it share similarities with all the other books, with the undead zombies and stuff like that, and being trapped there, which I'll get to in a second, but it also shares a similarity because in the first Carnival of Horrors book, when you escape from the carnival, it turns into a mysterious mist and the carnival disappears. So, again, I say, there are so many links between all of these different Goosebumps books that share one thing in common, or a bunch of things in common. All of these different Goosebumps books feature a mist that mysteriously appears out of nowhere, seemingly, and turns everyone in town into undead beings. Everyone turns into undead beings when they're exposed to the mist. That's kind of what I already said. But the third and most interesting thing about all this is that all of these different scenarios I'm talking about in the Goosebumps universe all feature another thing in common. They all want to trap people in their respective areas. Not really so much for Ghost Camp, but kind of. But they do want to lure people into their area and trap them there, in a sense. And if you look at Welcome to Dead House, they want to trap people inside Dark Falls. They want to feast on their flesh or whatever, and then they get turned. The people who are trapped there get turned into undead zombies and are stuck there. Same thing for the Carnival of Horrors. If you do not escape in time, you turn into an undead zombie, which the owner of the place wants to lure you into. But yeah, you can, and also for Captain One Bin Longleg as well. It doesn't really seem like that at first. They don't really mention that in the book, I don't think. That he wants to turn you into an undead zombie with him. But actually, in the Goosebumps Monster Survival Guide, they talk about if you find Captain One Bin Longleg's treasure, that all of his skeleton crew people will come out, and they actually sing a song about how you, the person who finds the treasure chest, will become the latest addition to Captain One Bin Longleg's crew of skeletons and zombies and stuff like that. So it is confirmed from that song that they sing that they want you to become an undead being and be stuck there with you. So all these different Goosebumps books I'm talking about have all of these similarities. So what is the explanation for how this mysterious mist that seemingly appears, again, out of nowhere, come about? Where does this come from? What is it? And so, yeah, that's basically what I'm trying to figure out in this theory. Originally, I thought it could be all, not originally, but later on I kind of thought maybe the Carnival of Horrors just changes form in different areas and gets all these different people stuck there. Like, the Carnival of Horrors is solely responsible for all these different situations I'm talking about, because the Carnival of Horror can change forms. You can see this by the fact that there is a Puritan at the Carnival of Horrors. I highly doubt they had roller coasters and all this modern technology in the time of the Puritans, which is 1600s. I highly doubt the owner of the Carnival of Horrors was able to get anyone to come in, or stuff like that if you just had a normal modern carnival. He would have to change forms. Even if you just look at from Escape from the Carnival of Horrors to Return to the Carnival of Horrors, there are some distinct changes between the two areas, which suggest that the Carnival of Horrors can change. So you could theoretically say that the Carnival of Horrors solely is responsible for Dark Falls, Ghost Camp, all these different areas, Captain One Den Longleg, but I highly doubt it, just due to the fact that they're all, that'd be a lot. A. B. They aren't all carnivals, so it's kind of weird. I don't really get that. I think there's something similar to the Carnival of Horrors, but I highly doubt the Carnival of Horrors itself is responsible for all this. And so that led to basically my explanation, I think, for why all of this happened. It's not the Carnival of Horrors, but the Snatcher from Return to Ghost Camp. So, just for those of you who do not remember or haven't read the book and don't really care about the spoiler warning, the Snatcher is the main antagonist of Return to Ghost Camp. And essentially, its main thing is it's some being that can transform into almost anything or into anything, but prefers the form of a fox. And this being, specifically seen in the Return to Ghost Camp, again, takes on all these different forms and tries to basically hunt down individuals and attack them and turn them into undead beings. Actually, supposedly, Snatcher turned every single person in Return to Ghost Camp, all the campers, into ghosts, except for the main protagonist. So that is the interesting thing. If you can prove that Return to Ghost Camp, the camp in Return to Ghost Camp is the same camp in Ghost Camp, then that would 100% mean that the explanation for why Long Been One Leg and Dark Falls and all of that happened, all of that dark mist stuff, could most likely be the Snatcher. Because you see, the Snatcher can take several different forms. And if you can connect Return to Ghost Camp with Ghost Camp, which I think they're the same camp, for several different reasons, which I'll get to in a second. But if you can connect these two, then I think it 100% explains all of these different scenarios that I've talked about in this theory for about 15 minutes or so. And so I think the explanation for all this, again, is the Snatcher. And I think the Snatcher takes on a gaseous form, comes in, and turns everyone around him or her, I don't really know. Don't really remember the book that well. I just kind of read up on the Snatcher a bit on Goosebumps Wiki and stuff like that. But essentially, the Snatcher comes in as a gaseous form, turns everyone there into undead zombies that cannot escape this area. And stuff like that. And I think this makes sense for several different reasons, mainly due to the fact that Ghost Camp, the origin story in Ghost Camp is so similar to all the rest of them. There's all of those towns and all those places and all those people that I talked about that had something to do with this mist is all searching for someone to kidnap and turn into an undead zombie. Every single one almost. And they all have something to do with this gas thing. And they all have something to do with undead people. There's all these similarities between all these, and I again think that the most likely explanation is the Snatcher or being similar to the Snatcher. And again though, this whole thing hinges on the fact that Ghost Camp and Return to Ghost Camp are the same camp. If they're not, then this whole theory is nothing, pretty much. And I think most likely that they are the same camp. The similarities between the camp are very, very striking. Sure, the camps have different names, but the overall characteristics of the camp are exactly alike almost, with there being ghosts. And why would they title it Return to Ghost Camp when they're not returning to Ghost Camp, if you know what I mean? So I would say, and plus, you could say there are some changes, but as confirmed through the Carnival of Horrors thing, those places similar to that have this gas thing going on can change a lot. And not only to mention that, but Ghost Camp is really kind of a weird place. With like in the first book, there was like mountain giants from a story come to life. It was a crazy place. So I don't think it's that unlikely that they changed the name of the camp for a ton of reasons. And again, the book is titled Return to Ghost Camp, meaning that most likely, and again, there are a lot of similarities between that one and Return to Ghost Camp, and the camp in Ghost Camp and the camp in Return to Ghost Camp, that we cannot ignore the similarities. So that means I think 100% that the Snatcher is responsible for all the stuff that's happened in all of these Goosebumps books. The Snatcher takes on a gaseous form, comes in, and turns everyone into ghosts, like Captain Longbin One Leg. And then they kind of adopt a similar modes as the Snatcher. But anyways, guys, that's kind of the theory I have for you guys today. Tell me what you think about this mysterious gaseous stuff that we keep seeing in all these different Goosebumps books. What's your explanation? I would love to hear about it. And so, yeah, guys, we'll see you next time, where I'm actually going to try to review the new Goosebumps TV show, which I can't really wait to do. I'm probably going to do like a ranking on the episodes. But again, hope you guys enjoyed. This is a big theory. I'm really excited about solving this one, stuff like that. I literally solved it today, and I've been working on this one for a couple of weeks. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed.